What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another episode of the Premier League Perspective, where me and my brother go head to head in predicting the outcomes of each and every Premier League game. And this weekend was a full host of Premier League games, and the scores on the doors at the moment are 10 points in the gap. It's 295 to 285. The way the scoring works is 5 points for a correct scoreline, 3 points for a correct result, and both teams to score 1 point for a correct result, and then the star man as well, which is 2 points for a goal, 1 point for an assist. And let's get straight into it, and let's start off with the Friday night game, which was Southampton against Norwich, which finished 2-0 to Southampton. Both of us going for Southampton wins, but we both went for Norwich to score as well, so 1 point each there. Obviously we were together, we didn't see much of this game. Did you see the highlights or anything?
Yeah, I saw the highlights, and Southampton were pretty much on top throughout the whole game, it seemed. Norwich didn't have much encouragement from their side to get back in the game, and they are in deep trouble now, Norwich. You know, they're having played the most games, 26 games, with the least points, so they're looking like they're the most likely team to go down. Dean Smith, despite a bit of an improvement in performances, hasn't been able to get the results right, so they're looking like a team destined at the moment.
Yeah, they are, and obviously Southampton going great at the moment. They're on a really good run of form, and you could say maybe a couple of months ago Southampton might have been drawn into this relegation scrap, but this recent form have really put themselves apart, haven't they? So
looking at top half now. Yeah,
definitely. So credit to Southampton. They're pulling out the results and playing really well in the process as well. So Southampton, that's that. 1 point each for that. Moving on to Saturday's games, starting off with Leeds against Tottenham, which finished 4-0 to Tottenham. You went 3-1, I went 2-1, so a point apiece for this. And yeah, near total domination apart from a little period in that first half. But a really good performance from Spurs.
Yeah, we completely deserved it. I think tactically it was spot on. We exploited the space Leeds left behind, and Leeds can deal with it. Yeah, Leeds had a few chances, but it was more to do with some isolated incidents rather than good tactical play. And we even backed Leeds to score and they didn't, so maybe it was a bit of luck there, but good win for Tottenham.
Yeah, they did hit the woodwork a few times, so it was close to a 3-pointer.
They had an open goal, didn't they?
It's close to it was close to a 3-pointer, but 1 point each there. Brentford against Newcastle, which finished 2-0 to Newcastle on the day. Both of us going 2-1 to Newcastle, and this carries on the good form for Newcastle and carries on the bad form for Brentford. So pretty much as expected in that one.
Yeah, it's 4 wins out of the last 5 now for Newcastle. Really great going, and they're pulling themselves away from the relegation scrap. And Bruno Guimaraes is yet to really get fully integrated, so we've got that to come as well. But Eddie Howe seems to be doing a good job there. Brentford, a bit worrying form now for them. I mean, it's been worrying for a while, and looks like a good start to the season has got them in mid-table or like 14th or so. But the way they're going, they could very much get dragged into the relegation battle.
They're only 3 points above the drop.
So yeah, they're 15th now. Newcastle are above them, but Eriksen came off the bench, and that was really positive, and apparently he had a pretty good cameo. So if he can start contributing for them, that would be a massive plus.
Yeah, and you got to say that was the moment of the weekend, seeing Eriksen come onto that football pitch, the whole stadium standing with applause, the away fans and the home fans alike. So it was really good to see him back on the football pitch. And I didn't see any of his performance, but by all counts I heard he had a good performance. So big up Christian Eriksen, good to see him back on the pitch. And let's move on to Brighton against Aston Villa, which finished 2-0 to Aston Villa. Both of us going 1-1 here, but Aston Villa getting back to winning ways.
Yeah, and Brighton as well, 3 losses on the bounce. They seem to be sliding down the table. Looks like Graham Potter isn't able to again, they're falling for the same problems where they're creating chances, not being clinical, and at the back they don't, they've lost Dan Burn, they don't really have the personnel to keep up the level of performance Graham Potter needs, and that's 3 defeats on the bounce. Obviously, good result for Villa. Ollie Watkins and Matt Cash getting the goals, and that restores after some really patchy form for them, and they needed that win under Stevie G, and now they're they're not going to be dragged into relegation, but they'll be all right under Gerrard. But they're looking at next season, just consolidate this season and look for next season to improve, I think.
Yeah, totally. And moving on to the next Saturday games is Crystal Palace against Burnley, which finished 1-1 on the day. You went 1-0 to Burnley. I went 0-0. So I get a point there. You don't get any points. But in terms of the game, did you see much of this one?
No, I didn't see much of it, but I saw Olise got a really good assist for Jeff Schlupp's goal to put Palace 1-0 up. It shows what you can do with a good bit of service from the wide areas, which we didn't have against Burnley. But Burnley stayed firm, kept their unbeaten run going. Another good point for them, and it keeps them ticking over. They got the own goal, and unfortunately, they couldn't get the win, but I think it's another good result away at Palace. And again, they just keep getting the points that they need. Yeah, you could say they need wins, but as long as they keep getting these points, then the wins will come at home. So a good point away for Burnley, and very good position they're in now.
Yeah, the way it's looking like, I think Burnley will be all right. I think they will be all right. I think there are worse teams, and there are definitely 3 worse teams than them, in my opinion, in the league right now. And I think with this whole situation with Bielsa leaving and potentially Jesse March coming in, I think Leeds could be one of the teams that go down.
Yeah, it looks like, unless Brentford as well get dragged into it, which could be, because Burnley,
both that Leeds and Brentford are worse than Burnley at the moment.
Yeah, I think, but they're only 3 points below Burnley, and Burnley have 3 games in hand on Brentford and 2 in Leeds. So difficult position for both of those sides if Burnley keep going the way they are.
Yeah, definitely. So that's that with Palace. Burnley. Moving on to Old Trafford, where Man United faced Watford, finished 0-0. Both of us going 2-0 to Man United, and more points dropped for Manchester United in the top 4 race. And they missed a host of chances, didn't they?
They should have been 2-0 at least, to be honest, because Watford barely had anything in this game. It was literally just an onslaught from Man United, and they missed some real gilt-edged chances. Ronaldo hit the post early on, Bruno missed a 1-on-1, Elanga missed a really presentable opportunity in the second half. They'll be kicking themselves. They dropped points in this game, because it wasn't one of those where Watford were defending really resolutely and they just couldn't break through. They broke through a number of times, and they just kept missing the target. It wasn't even a case of Ben Foster. He made one good save from Bruno, but other than that, it wasn't a case of him making loads of saves. It was just poor finishing from United. And Watford got lucky, but Man United could be costly with, you got to be winning games like that.
Yeah, especially as how tight it is for that top 4 race. But good news for us, because that's more drop points for Man United. But let's move on to Everton against Man City, which was the late kickoff on the Saturday. Finished 1-0 to Man City. Both of us going 3-0 to Man City, so that's 3 points each there. But it was a game that was marred by a terrible refereeing decision in the last minute, with the ball clearly touching Rodri's arm, and no penalty given at 1-0.
Couldn't believe what I was seeing. It was absolute disgrace. It's one of those decisions where it was so bad. Like, I really find it hard to believe that it's down to incompetence. Like, it's that bad a decision. The VAR was reviewing it for a good 2 minutes, slowing it down time and time again, very, very clearly hitting Rodri's arm, and it was very clearly him controlling the ball with his arm as well inside the penalty area. I don't know what the referee, the VAR, was doing, not advising the referee not to look at the screen, because it's the clearest decision you'll have all season. Like, honestly, it was the clearest VAR. Like, they gave a VAR against Romero where it was probably less of a penalty than this one, and that was only last week. This one was clear as day. He controls with his arm. It was deliberate. Very clearly hits his arm. The justification was apparently there wasn't enough evidence to show that it hit his arm and didn't hit the upper sleeve, and that's just bollocks. I'm sorry. It was very clear hit his arm. It hit the elbow portion of his arm. I don't know what the it's a terrible decision. Awful decision. It's a disgrace, absolute disgrace. I'll be fuming if I was Tottenham, and City get away with it. And also that coupled with early in the season when they got a handball against Wolves where it very clearly hit the side of his body and not the arm, and they got a penalty from that. And VAR again looked at that for 2 minutes and just said, "Oh, there's not clear evidence it didn't hit his arm," when it very clearly didn't hit his arm. I mean, something fishy's going on there. I'm sorry. It's hard to believe that those 2 decisions can go City's way so clearly.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say, but these decisions are terrible, and the VAR is doing the right thing in terms of making the referee go and look at it and stuff like that. But the officiating what is going on with the officiating in this league, because the consistency of these decisions are so terrible, so off. Time and time again, it's happening, and we need to have a deeper look into the officiating in this country, because it can't go on like this.
City win the league by
a point or whatever.
6 points. You look at those. You'll look at those decisions and say those were the defining decisions, and they went City's way. And with all the money in the Premier League, and honestly, when you got VAR doing these weird things, man, it calls into question the integrity. It really does, because I'm sorry, that decision on Saturday goes beyond incompetence. It must do. You can't be that incompetent when you see the ball clearly hitting the arm and say no. You can't be. No one is that incompetent. I really find it hard to believe. And it might sound like a conspiracy, but honestly, it's when you watch those pictures and he decides not to give a penalty, you can't fathom it.
Yeah, strong words from Mr. Simeon over here. But let's move on to the Sunday game, last game of the weekend, which was West Ham against Wolves. Finished 1-0 to West Ham. You went 2-0, I went 1-1, so 0 points for each of us there. But a really good win for West Ham. Yeah,
against a tough Wolves side, who are always going to be tough away from home, and they look good for a point up until, obviously, West Ham were the better team, but, most of their chances coming from range. Rice hitting the post from 30 yards.
What an effort that was.
That was brilliant. And he was, again, really good on the day. But look, Souček got the goal. A bit of luck with it, but it bundled their way through to him, and he ended up just squeezing it through in the back of the net. And despite some late Wolves pressure, they held on, and they're now 2 points behind United, same games played, but with the chasing pack all having various games in hand on them and not many points behind. Will they have enough to sustain a top 4 challenge? Probably not. But look, as long as they're in the top 6, they'll be happy, West Ham.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that this game, the way the game panned out, I think maybe just about a fair result. I think West Ham were the better side for the majority of the game. And then when Pedro Neto came on, it kind of shifted it in the Wolves' momentum. And I was surprised that they didn't get a goal, because it looked like they put on enough pressure, actually, at the end of that game to get the goal. So maybe 1-1 on reflection was more of a fair result. But you've got to give credit to West Ham for digging deep and hanging on in there and getting the result. So that's that. Star man, I went for Raheem Sterling and you went for Broja. None of them did anything, so 0 points there. So it ends off on 301 to 292. The gap is now into single figures. So a lot of games still to play, so we'll see how it goes from there. But that is your Premier League Spurspective this week. Thank you everyone for joining. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on you Spurs.